Hello and welcome to what is a very special video. This will be the video that discusses all the transfers that have just occurred from the past 3 months and indeed transfer deadline day yesterday. It will be discussing the most important players for all your sides and the players that will help you succeed and take your club to where you want to go. So let's start off with the first club, Arsenal. On the screen you'll see the players that they bought in. Two of them were for free. Another one loaned, but the big one, Mesut Ozil, for £42.5 million from Real Madrid. Now, I'll discuss the most important players that they've signed, which is two of them. I think Matthew Flamini, getting him back from AC Milan, even though it's for free, is a very shrewd bit of business by Arsenal. He's shown in the last game against Spurs that he still has the passion, the fight, and the dedication to play for Arsenal, and that he, in fact, is so good in that holding midfield area, just bossing the midfield, winning the tackles, and breaking up the play. And to get him for free, I believe, is quite a deal. However, the main man himself, Mesut Ozil, to Arsenal. I cannot believe this. I was up all night praying for this deal to be done, praying for it to be true, and indeed it is. It is not a dream. Mesut Ozil is at Arsenal. What a fantastic player. World class. All the teams he played for, Werder Bremen, Real Madrid, for Germany on the World Cup level. He's a world class player. He's the leading assist, the most player that's given assists last year. He's at the top of that list, which shows his creativity and his mentality for going forward and picking out a pass, which is fantastic. I know what you guys are thinking. Yes, we don't need another attacker, but the midfielders we have are very versatile, and I think with Ozil coming in, he'll just lift the standards of the club, and I think he'll take Arsenal to the place where we want to go, which is win trophies and get back to being the best team in the Premier League. On to Aston Villa next, and they've strengthened quite thoroughly. They've got a lot of young players in as well. The two players personally that I think will help take the club forward and get them out of that relegation battle that they were in last season is the left back Antonio Luna. He moved from Sevilla for what I believe to be an undisclosed fee, and as we saw against Arsenal, he's a very threatening player. He can go forward, but defensively at that left back area, he's very, very solid. And I think he's just an all-round good player. He can go forward, whipping crosses into the box, and for the likes of Benteke and Agbonoho. And defensively, again with Vla and Brad Guzan as the goalkeeper, he'll keep that defense nice and watertight. However, the player that I believe to be most influential to Aston Villa is none that they signed this year, but is the player that they signed last year, and that's Christian Benteke. And this summer, he handed a transfer request. However, Paul Lambert and the managers at Aston Villa decided to give him that contract extension, and luckily for them, Benteke accepted. And I think for them, that's their biggest signing of the summer, keeping their star striker and a guy that will guarantee them goals. He's already got 3 goals in 3 games so far, off to a flying start. And if they keep him, and they manage to keep him for their next couple of seasons, I don't see Aston Villa, lagging at the bottom or mid-table. I really see them kicking on and progressing where they should be, where they were about 3-4 seasons ago, fighting for 6th and the Europa League spot. So I think that's the best business for Aston Villa done this summer. Let's swiftly move on to Cardiff. Now, Cardiff have really strengthened, and they've actually broken their transfer record 3 times in just one window. That's amazing. As you'll see on the screen, there's the players that they brought in, and the players that I think will actually strengthen and help them be safe from relegation is the actual 3 players that broke their transfer record. Gary Medel, Steven Kolka, and Andreas Cornelius. Now, Cornelius is a striker, very tall, very strong, deceptively quick, and I think that he may struggle at initially to fit into the Premier League, but as the season goes on, I think he'll get stronger and stronger, and he'll give Cardiff definitely goals and will ensure their survival. Steven Kolka, they bought him off Tottenham. He wasn't going to get much game time under AVB, so Cardiff City decided to get him, and what a player he is. He's very pacey, very strong, very tall, got a good can use his header very well for corner kicks and for clearances, and I think he's an all-round good signing defensively for Cardiff City. And finally, Gary Medel in the midfield. He's not that big, but he's very strong. He'll break up the play, and he's got a good pass on him. So for me, Cardiff City have really strengthened the whole spine of the team, from basically the attack all the way to the defence, and I think that's to ensure their fans and ensure the players that are there that they won't be going back down to the Championship, and next season they can improve even more from their first season in the Premier League. Now we'll go to Chelsea, one of the more the big spenders, one of the biggest spenders this summer. They brought in a fair amount of players, fair few of them for quite a lot of money, but the three standouts personally that I think Mourinho brought is Willian from Shakhtar Donetsk. He'll add creativity, that spark, the trickery, even though Chelsea don't need it because they've got an abundance of attacking midfielders. I think Willian is something different, and he's a bit different to Juan Mata, whereas Mata is just, good going one way, it's going forward. Willian will get back, and then when Chelsea break and win the ball back, he'll go forward and counter-attack, and I think that's the players Mourinho has wanted to buy in. And it's exactly the same as the next player, Andre Schürrle. We saw him against Chelsea play up front as a false nine, really. And when Man U were in possession, all the Chelsea midfielders, and Schürrle included, dropped back, blocking up the space, the time that Manchester United had. And then when they won the ball, boom, counter-attacked with pace, with trickery, and those attacking midfielders then just suddenly came into their own. And finally, Chelsea have signed Samuel Eto'o for free from Anzi. Another great bit of business by Mourinho. It's a one-year deal, which basically says that, it's a stopgap. It's a very short-term stopgap that Eto'o is. He'll be brought in, score goals under Mourinho, and next season they'll go out and buy the striker that they really desire. But Eto'o's no slouch. He'll score a lot of goals. Again, he'll do his defensive duty. He'll track back. He knows Mourinho for playing under him at Inter Milan, and I think that Chelsea, with these signings and many more, as well as Jose Mourinho coming back and making his return at Stamford Bridge, Chelsea are undoubtedly the title favourites for me. Now it's Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace, as you can see on the screen now, have brought in a lot of players, most of them for free and a couple of them for undisclosed fees. And this is really just to strengthen their squad. Their squad last season in the Championship was very good, and Ian Holloway hasn't changed it too much. He's wanted to give those boys that got Palace promoted, give them a chance in the Premier League and see what it's all about. However, I've selected two players that I think will be standouts for Crystal Palace, and, if they continue to play like they have, will, hopefully for their sake, not get relegated, will be Jimmy Kebe from Reading and Dwight Gale, who broke their transfer record for me. Now, Jimmy Kebe, I saw him play for Reading last season, and he was one of their more standout players, He's got pace, he'll come back and defend, but he'll also move forward and, score a couple of goals for you, which for Crystal Palace can not hurt them at all. As for Dwight Gale, he can play on the left, predominantly plays on the left, can sometimes play on the right too. Pacey, small, agile, got tricks, and really, I think any team in the Premier League would be silly not to have him. And for Crystal Palace to have this player and who broke their transfer record fee, that's fair play to them. And with these signings and many more, I think that Ian Holloway, the spirit that is instilled in the dressing room at Crystal Palace, I think that they should survive, not comfortably, but they should be able to survive their first season in the Premier League. And with these signings, I think it'll go a long way into helping that. Turning our attention to Everton, who by far, I reckon they had the best transfer deadline day ever. The players that brought in, Kone, Joel Robles, Gerard Deulofeu from Barcelona, James McCarthy reunited with his old boss, Romelu Lukaku from Chelsea on loan, and Gareth Barry from Man City on loan. The two players for me that'll stand out is actually Gerard Deulofeu, who they've loaned from Barcelona. This guy is basically touted, I think, as the next really Iniesta, but he's more of a true winger than Iniesta is. He can pick out a pass, he's got a great shot on him, and his mentality and his understanding, can read the game, is superb for his age, and I think this is a really shrewd bit of business by Everton to get a player of that quality in on loan from Barcelona. So well done to Roberto Martinez there. Also, since they lost their star player, who I'll be talking about later, they had to bring in some reinforcements, and James McCarthy from Wigan is, I think, a really good reinforcement for Everton. He sits in that midfield, picks out a pass, can break up the play as well. He's extremely young and very talented, and he's already played under Roberto Martinez before, so he knows what the manager does. He knows what the manager expects from him, and I think he'll be a very good signing, and ones that the Everton fans will really appreciate. Obviously, there was the obvious, Romelu Lukaku and Kone, but I think these two players, especially this season, will show their worth and will show to the Everton fans, and indeed all the teams around the Premier League, that Everton are not to be messed with, and Roberto Martinez wants to get them into that 5th spot. Fulham now, they've actually strengthened quite well. Martin Jol has done a good bit of business for them and for a smallish London-based club. They've got a couple of good players like Scott Parker, and they've finally confirmed the signing of Sasha Rita, as well as Fernando Amorabita, who they signed from Atletico Bilbao, I think it was in January, but now they got him on the free, so that deal was done a long time ago. However, in terms of players that I think will thrive at Fulham this season, there's 3. There's Darren Bent, who's on loan. I think his time at Aston Villa has gone horribly wrong, specifically because they've got Christian Benteke. But I think at Fulham, him and Berbatov up front can be a hazard to any team in the 4-4-2. Another player is Martin Stelkenberg, a really class, number 1 class goalkeeper. Good shot stopper. He's good at clearing the corners. And I think all round he's a better replacement for Mark Schwarzer, who they lost to Chelsea. And finally, Adel Taarabt on loan from Queen's Park Rangers. You know what you're going to get with Taarabt. He's one-way minded. That's going forward, using his tricks, using his creativity. He's a bit selfish sometimes, but that's what I think adds to the aura of Adel Taarabt. He's got tricks. He can create something out of nothing, and for Fulham, he can get them those vital goals in order for them not to be lagging down at the bottom of the table. So those are the signings for Fulham, which I believe will help them further improve on their season last year. Let's turn our attention to Hull City now. They've brought in a fair amount of players. Steve Bruce, I think, has really instilled into his squad that they really need to play with a togetherness, and this shows with the signings. Now, he's brought a couple of players like Danny Graham in on loan, Yannick Sagbo, and Ahmed El Mohammadi, who he managed over at his time at Sunderland. They also got Mano Figueroa for free from Wigan. However, there's two dominant signings that Steve Bruce has brought in, and there's the two former Liverpool, the former Tottenham boys, in Tom Huddleston, who they actually purchased for $5.25 million, and Jake Livermore, who's on loan. Now, the reason I say this is I saw them the first game against Chelsea away, and when those two players weren't on the field, they were on the bench for the first half, Hull got dominated. Chelsea played right through their midfield as if they weren't there, and then, boom, on they both came at halftime, sat in front of that back four, stopped all Chelsea's creativity, those attacking midfielders, in their tracks, and really, Hull City were actually they played quite well in that second half against Chelsea. Then, when both those players were playing against Norwich and they won, you can see that their quality is a notch above the rest. And I think with those two in midfield bossing it for Hull City, that they won't, hopefully for them, won't concede as many goals as they would have, and they can actually go on the counter-attack and catch teams by surprise, like they did with Man City. Although I don't think in other areas of the pitch, Hull City are quite strong enough to compete in the Premier League, and unfortunately I think that they may in fact go back down. I don't want them to, but as of now they're one of the teams that I think could possibly get relegated. Moving on to Merseyside, where we'll now discuss Liverpool. Liverpool did most of their business relatively early on in the transfer window, although they did pick up three impressive signings on the transfer deadline day. There's three players personally that I think will improve Liverpool. That's Simon Mignolet, the goalkeeper. He basically should be more expensive than the £9 million Liverpool paid for him. I think Sunderland got actually they basically sold one of their best players for not that much money, and Liverpool have got a fantastic deal. He's a good goalkeeper, he's young, he's one for the future, and personally, I think he's better than Pepe Reina. The next signing would be Mamadou Sakho from PSG. They got him for 18 million. It's a lot of money, but listen to this. I think he's 23 years old. He's captained Paris Saint-Germain before. He's got, I think it's 23 or 24 caps for France. He's done it at the highest level, and I think he'll just be a rock in that midfield. Like Jamie Carragher was a rock, this guy will be even more of a brute force in that defense. He won't let anything go past him. He's pacey, he's strong, he's tall. I think really Brendan Rodgers, if we're working from defense to attack, this is an absolute amazing signing, and I don't know why Paris Saint-Germain would let him go. However, that's not the point. But by far the best, well, not signing, but the best news for Liverpool this summer is that in fact Luis Suarez is staying at the club. That's extremely good news for them. Even though Daniel Sturridge has been on a tear, when we get into December and there's game after game after game, and they have to compete on all fronts, I think just having Luis Suarez there and knowing what you get from him, which is goals and creativity up front, is so vital to Liverpool if they want to, in fact, get into that Champions League spot. And if they do get in the Champions League spot, why would Suarez leave? That's his dream, to play in the Champions League. So I don't think he would leave. However, my inclination is that there's a sort of a verbal agreement between Rodgers and Suarez, where Rodgers has said to him, look, you stay for one more season and we'll try our hardest to get in the Champions League. If not, well then we'll see what offers come next year, and we'll try, and if you want to go, then you can. I don't think they're going to sell him to a rival club, which means no clubs in England will get him, which means there's only one possible club, and that's Real Madrid, who did miss out on him this year. However, very good business by Liverpool, shown the ambition of the club and shown the ambition of the manager, so now I expect really big things, and I want to see them challenging for their sake and for the Premier League's sake too, for that fourth position or even higher if possible. The third biggest spenders this summer, Manchester City, have really strengthened in areas that I think let Roberto Mancini down last year and eventually resulted in his sacking. Now, the two players out of the 5 players you see on the screen that I think will really improve them is one, Fernandinho. Yes, don't let the price tag fool you. 30 million is actually probably a little bit less than what I rate him. But this guy is a boss. Him and Yaya Toure in that midfield, completely shielding off the back four, stopping any counter attacks, is absolutely superb. I can't believe they got basically the same player cloned in the same team. It's fantastic, and he's just a really high quality player. He'll take the pressure off Yaya Toure, because at times last year it was all about him. And when he was ticking, the team was playing well. When he wasn't, nor was the team. So I think Fernandinho coming in will release the pressure off Yaya Toure, and really it will ensure that the standards of Man City are kept so high that they can repeat winning the trophy, the Premiership, like they did a couple of seasons ago. The other transfer was Alvaro Negredo from Sevilla. a great striker, as we saw on the weekend. He makes very, very intelligent runs, is what I'm supposed to say. And he's got a good football brain, got a great shot on him. He can hold up the play, link in others, although that's not really his strong point. Likes to run in behind the defence, and I think for Manchester City, you'll know what you're going to get with this guy. One word: goals. And without them, I don't think that they'd be, without Negredo, I don't think they'd be a title contender. However, they've got him, and they've retained Aguero and Dzeko and Silva, Nasri. So I still think that Man City, arguably right now, would compete for the second position in behind Chelsea. For now, one of the more unimpressing teams in the transfer window, surprisingly actually, is Manchester United. They really did their business with, 10 minutes to go, and it shows. The only star signing that they signed is the Belgium international Marouane Fellaini for a fee of 27.5 million. They did this deal with basically minutes to go, and that's all they got. They haven't got anyone else. The talks of Baines and Fabregas and Alcantara and I can't remember the Atletico Bilbao Herrera midfielder, all were washed, and they only decided to go for Fellaini, who personally, if they really wanted him, should have got him months ago. However, that's not the point. I think for Moyes, he'll say that the retention or them keeping this player, Wayne Rooney, will be like another signing, because for me, Manchester United is still about Wayne Rooney. He is the player that does everything for them. He in that hole behind Van Persie and ahead of that midfield, that's his area, He'll go up with Van Persie and create up there. At times, if Moyes wants, he can drop him back into the midfield, and when they're playing away at big teams like, such as Chelsea and Man City, they can play 4-5-1, or at home to say, a League 1 or a League 2 team, Championship team, he can play up with Van Persie and go 4-4-2. So I think the signing of the summer is actually keeping Wayne Rooney, and he's not Marouane Fellaini. However, for Moyes, I think that it's not the best start, but let's see what he can do. And at this present stage, I don't think Manchester United are the title favourites anymore to go back-to-back. Talking of another team who hasn't really done anything in the transfer window is poor Newcastle United. They've only brought in Loic Remy on loan from QPR and Oliver Kamen for an undisclosed fee, and that's about it. I'm not sure what Jokini has been doing, where he has been, or what excuses him and indeed Newcastle United have to only do this amount of business in 3 months. Surely they must have realised, at the end of last season, they didn't have the best season under Pardew, but, you can't blame that. It is what it is, they didn't achieve the heights that they had the year before that, and that they probably wanted to. So now it was time, really, in their minds and in all the fans' minds, to go in the market and spend. They've missed all their big targets. Gomez, I think, luckily for them, they kept Cabaye, but he's still not. He's still not forgiven by the fans, and I'm not sure where Newcastle United is heading under Joe Kinnear. For me, I think Pardew could cost him his job, really. If they don't get results and if they don't start showing good performances, Joe Kinnear, I think his job's safe, because I think Mike Ashley, or who I can't remember the owner's name, I think he likes Joe Kinnear too much and doesn't want to admit that he's been a failure yet. So I think it could cost Pardew his job. So hopefully Newcastle, if they showed the dedication, the drive that they showed a couple of seasons ago when they finished 5th in that Europa League spot, then I think that they can be okay. But they haven't really strengthened in any areas, and for me, it's a bit of a worry for them. So hopefully for Newcastle fans, you guys stay in the Premier League and you guys are okay. Now here's a team who have identified their weakness last season and really gone out in the transfer window and done something about it. That's right, I'm talking about Norwich City. They've bought in a fair amount of players, but these are quality players, and two in particular. Two strikers. Gary Hooper, formerly from Celtic, who was bought for £5 million. Now, Norwich City, as I've said before, they want goals. With the two names right now, Gary Hooper is one of them. He will give you goals. He likes to run in behind the defence. He'll create all sort of havoc. He's got fast feet, good footballing brain, and that's a really good bit of business by Norwich City. Only getting him for £5 million, that's a very good deal. The next striker and the next player that I think will shine as well, and he's already scored, is Ricky van Wolfswinkel. This guy is bought from Sporting Lisbon for £8.6 million, and that's a bargain. This guy is very intelligent. Great jumping, great athleticism. Again, he likes to run in, but he can also hold up the play and bring in the other players around him, like Snodgrass and Hooper and Nathan Redmond, another signing. Bring them into the game. And really, I think Norwich City at home and even away can be a very dangerous team with these two strikers. The midfield with Tete is very strong, and their defence shouldn't or won't leak too many goals this season unless something catastrophic happens. So watch out for Norwich City, and I think their fans have a right to be very up and about and very energetic about this summer because they've done well, and now it's time for them and it's time for Chris Hughton to actually show the fans and show the other teams in the Premier League that Norwich City are in fact the real deal. On to Southampton now, and the Saints have only made 3 signings, but these 3 signings have reinvigorated that spine of the team. I'm talking about striker Daniel Osvaldo, central midfield player in Victor Wanyama, and Dejan Lovren, centre-back. Now, Lovren cost them £8.5 million, but he's got a world of experience. He'll bring his knowledge and his defensive mindset and capabilities to the Premier League, and I think will shore up that Southampton defence. In Victor Wanyama, they've got a boss of the midfield. Big, strong, physical presence that'll win the ball back and dish it to, maybe the better users of the ball around him, such as an Adam Lallana or a James Ward-Prowse. But I think with him, that what you'll get breaking up of the play, and you'll get a very strong, determined figure in the centre of midfield. And up front, you've got Daniel Osvaldo. Him, I think, paired with Ricky Lambert, could cause a fair amount of problems. Both are very intelligent. Both know how to, be a true centre forward and holding up the play, making those diagonal runs inside if one plays out wide. And I really think that Southampton, the signings that they've made, are very good business by Mauricio Pochettino, and their fans should be very excited about this upcoming Premier League season. Let's discuss Stoke City now. They've brought in 6 players, but I think that these 2 ones that I'm going to identify are seen by Mark Hughes to, he's the one that wants to change the philosophy down at Stoke. And I think these 2 players really exhibit that. In Eric Peters, who they got for £3 million, and for Osama Assaidi on loan from Liverpool. Now, both of these players are not, your Peter Crouches, your Andy Carrolls, where you bomb the ball up, they'll hold it up, and it's a very physical game. These guys are, ball at the feet, dribbling, running at players, and, creating stuff on the ground, like, Barcelona. And I think he'll get this point over to the fans. It's just, he has to let the fans buy into this, If it doesn't work out in this first season, as long as the fans have bought into, this new philosophy and this new way of playing, I think Mark Hughes will be okay. It's if he hasn't sold that idea to the fans, and indeed the players too, that things could get a bit messy. However, after their performance on the weekend against West Ham, I think Stoke City are going to be okay, and the signings that they made are quite good, and I think that they'll do just enough to survive another season in the Premier League. Onto a team that's actually got two teams and bought another whole team this summer is Sunderland under Paolo Di Canio. Now, he's brought in basically a whole new squad, just an abundance of names, as you'll see on the screen right now. I've selected 3 of these names that I think will reinforce that Sunderland are not slouches and shouldn't be down at the bottom of the table. And they are, in fact, Emanuele Giaccherini, I think from Juventus, that they got him for 8.6 million. He can either play through the middle or out on the right. Very good, very intelligent. He played at Juventus, so obviously he's got quality there that Paolo Di Canio's seen. And I think him coupled alongside this other player, Fabio Borini, who they got on loan from Liverpool, will reinforce that Sunderland do have an attacking force up front. Now, they need goals, and they need to be solid at the back. However, through this next player, they will get one of those things, and that's goals. Jose Altidore for 6 million, the United States of America international. Now, I've seen him play for the US of A, and he's an amazing striker. He's strong, he shields the ball very well, he's relatively quick, he's got a good shot on him, and he makes nice intelligent runs, either from the left channel inside or the right inside channel. Now, it's whether the players like Borini and Giaccherini can find these runs of Altidore, and I think then he'll be okay. He did have a stint in the Premier League before, and it didn't work out that well. So he moved into the Eredivisie for, I think it was AZ, and scored goals for basically fun over there. So I think Di Canio, the Sunderland fans, and myself included, want him to be able to replicate that at Sunderland in this campaign. And if he does that, I think Sunderland will be okay and will not be fighting for relegation. The second Welsh club in the Premier League, Swansea, have done relatively well in this window. They've brought in a couple of good players, and I think under Laudrup's system, these guys will really shine and prove their worth in the Premier League. I'm talking about Wilfred Boney, their star signing of the summer, from £12 million from, I'm not 100% sure what team he came from. I do know it was in the Eredivisie, but this guy basically scored a goal a game in that league. It may not be as world-class, should I say, as the Premier League, but if you can replicate anything near that, along with Michu up front, Swansea are just going to be dominating. I know that they didn't win their first 2 games, but against West Albion Bromwich, they showed that they have quality through this next player, John Joe Shelvey, who was signed from Liverpool for £6 million. John Joe Shelvey, at his time at Liverpool, was a fantastic player. Maybe it was second to Jordan Henderson, but from what I saw of him, 1, he was quite skillful on the ball. 2, he has a magnificent range of passing, almost Gerrard-like. 3, in that midfield, he can create. He can also stay there and win the ball back. And 4, he's not afraid to go forward and clean up not the mess, but clean up and get a goal here or there. So I think that's another good signing by Swansea City, and indeed with another one of with all the players that they have bought in as well, they're not to be taken lightly. They needed these players in order to compete on all fronts, because remember, they are playing in the Europa League. So, squad rotation is vital, and I think the players that you see on the screen right now bring that, and they also bring really a lot of quality to the Swansea team, which will allow them to, I think, be quite dominant in another season in the Premier League. The biggest spenders by far in this transfer window, Tottenham Hotspur. As you can see on the screen, they brought in quality everywhere, and for not that cheap either. However, it does come at a little bit of an expense due to the fact that they lost their star man, Gareth Bale, yesterday to Real Madrid for, I believe it was a world record fee. But they've brought in quality, and there's 3 players that I think ooze significant quality, and you can tell this by the price tag that they've been bought for. One is Eric Lamela, bought from Roma for £30 million. This guy has it all. Tricks galore, a magician on the ball, can cross, can cut back onto his favourite side from that right wing, score many goals, set up a lot of goals as well. And I think he's a definite upgrade to the player that they have out there right now, and Aaron Lennon. I do believe, though, that it may not be so good for Andreas Townsend, who I think has come along in leaps and bounds over the past 2 seasons. And with the inclusion of Lamela, he may not get as much game time as even though I'm an Arsenal fan, I like to see Andreas Townsend playing. The next player is Roberto Soldado, bought for $26 million from Valencia. That's a really hefty fee for a player that's 28 years old. They won't get the money back on that one, but he does one thing. Again, he scores goals. A true centre forward. He likes to make those runs in the box. Isn't a centre forward that likes to get crosses in the box and wins all the headers, as he's not particularly tall. But for the way that Andre Villas-Boas wants to play in that 4-3-3, with I think Lamela and possibly Chadley on either side of him, they'll cut back, and with the fullbacks pushing forward, there'll be players in the box to get headers onto the ball, and you always know that Soldado will be lurking around somewhere to clean up and score the goals that have been left there. He's already scored 2 goals from penalty kicks, I must admit, but he started his Premier League debut season off very well. And lastly, the signing that I really am impressed with so far, and I have been impressed with since I watched him play at Corinthians, is Paulinho. Bought for £17 million, this guy is quality. He can play in any position in the midfield, anywhere. He can play box-to-box, defensive midfield, he can even play underneath the striker. A range of passing superb. He'll also go both ways, attack, defend, and he's got a big, strong body, which means he'll get in those tackles and win the ball back. For me, he's the complete midfielder, and any team, not just Tottenham, any team in the world, as well as the Premier League, will be lucky to have him, and he's just a great signing for them. And I think that Andre Villas-Boas, the fans, and indeed Daniel Levy and the board, they don't want Tottenham to finish 4th and, beat Arsenal. I think that they have the ambition to get a lot more than that. They want to win a trophy. They want to be competing for the Premier League. So watch out for Tottenham, who could really be the dark horse of this campaign. Moving on to West Albion Bromwich, and what did I tell you? In my last video, didn't I say that Steve Clarke had to issue a warning to the board and ask him to spend? And really, in the transfer deadline day, they've done fantastically well. Brought in Victor Anichebe and a host of other players, but there's 2 players that really stand out. They got Nicolas Anelka for free. Basically another marquee signing, a big name's done it all around the world for the biggest and the best teams. He's played on the highest stages, and this guy is just quality as a striker. You know what you get for him. Sure, he's lost a yard or 2 because he's due to his pace, but that footballing touch, that skill, the mentality stays with you if you're a world-class player forever. And it just shows in the last game for West Albion, everything that was damaging about their play, even though they lost, went through. Yes, that's right, Nicolas Anelka. And the other signing that's going to really thrive at West Albion is one that got really completed at the death of deadline day, and that's Stefan Sessegnon from Sunderland to West Albion Bromwich for £6 million. As I said, this was, you'll see in the picture here, done basically at the end of the deadline day. But what a player he is. He can play out on the left, through the middle, underneath the 2 strikers. And this guy's quality, great shot on him, versatile passing. Again, he's very small. He's not going to do much defensive work, but he'll track back and at least pick up his runner. But he's there for one thing, and that's goals, and that's help Anelka and Shane Long and the other attacking forces that West Albion Bromwich have to score goals and score goals himself. He doesn't have to worry about the defensive side since they've got Jakob and Malumbu there sitting in front of the back four. So I think West Albion, they hadn't had the greatest 2 games and the greatest transfer window before, but on deadline day, the board has shown really a lot of ambition, and I think now that they can actually start playing how Steve Clarke wants them to play, and I think that they'll have another great season in the league. The last team now I'll discuss is West Ham United. They've brought in 5 players, but there's 2, as you can see on the screen, that really stand out to you. That's 1, Stuart Downing, bought from Liverpool for £6 million. Again, him and Jarvis up front on either wing is quality. When Downing played at Aston Villa, what a great player he was. On that right wing, he loves to cross, he loves to get up the field and really cause a threat on that right-hand side. Yes, he didn't have the greatest time at Liverpool, but I think it was a too big club for him, and the pressure that was on him due to the amount of money spent on his transfer was just crazy, and really he didn't deserve some of the stick that he got. Yes, he was a bit terrible there, but I think at West Ham, the pressure's off him. He can play his natural game. He's a great talent, and I think for England as well as West Ham and Sam Allardyce, he'll show his worth that they only got him for $6 million. And finally, the deal that I expected to get done and was done a long time ago was Andy Carroll, again from Liverpool, coming to West Ham United for 15.5. Now, West Ham got a bargain compared to Liverpool. They only paid half of what Liverpool got him for. And really, I think that West Ham's game has now revolved solely around Andy Carroll. On the weekend, when they played Mayaga up front, they were just a bit lackluster. They didn't create anything. They couldn't get that outlet ball, that long diagonal ball to Carroll that he loves so much. There was none of that. And really, at times, West Ham just looked a bit stuck. With Carroll, he gives them so many alternative options if they choose to. And I think that with him, with Jarvis, with Downey, and Kevin Nolan, definitely, that they can really push on and have another fantastic season in the Premier League. But it all depends on how fit Andy Carroll is. Well, that's about wrap things up for this video. I hope whatever team you go for, that they got the players that you want. I know I'm certainly have been buzzing for the past day and a bit. And I'll really see you guys in 2 weeks' time. There's the international break now. There'll be no football until the 14th of September, which is in 10 days' time. Again, so hope your team does well in the next couple of games. Hope all your players stay fit and healthy. And I hope that you enjoy the games and the transfers that your team has completed and will complete in the future. For me, it's goodbye for now. See ya.